happy Friday. I am Lauren with Me Too Many Voices, and soon we will be joined by Armelle Desir. Super excited to be chatting with her, and I am super excited that you are all here this evening. Feel free to comment in. Excellent. Hi. Thank you again for being here. Armelle will be joining shortly, and she's going to be talking and leading a conversation about talking with your kids about consent and boundaries. Such an important conversation to navigate. How's everyone today? Excellent, excellent. I see lots of folks joining. Thank you. Excellent. I'm seeing someone is perfect. I am so glad to hear it. That does not happen enough. Getting better. I'm doing well. I have had a very productive day, gotten a lot done. I am excited to be here. I know Armelle will be joining in a moment. If you feel comfortable, where are you guys from? I'm here in North Carolina. I am going to try to see if I can message Armelle. Oh, we have someone from Canada. Excellent, excellent. Oh, France. So what time is it in France right now? Brooklyn. Big ups to Brooklyn. Excellent. We have some others in New York. Excellent. Thank you all for your patience as I get connected. All right. Hey, Pittsburgh. Let's see what is going on. Thank you again. This is always the part of these Instagram lives that always makes me nervous. Is it just trying to connect? Georgia, Maine. Excellent, excellent. I am not, if I lose you, I'll be right back, I promise. Nope, I don't know what I just did, but that is not the thing that I meant to do. I am so awkward. I'm sorry, guys. Thanks for hanging in there. How do I... Okay, let's see. I think I am on the case. Thank you all for your patience. I had a smoothie for dinner. I'm still working on it. It is some sort of cinnamon oat peanut butter smoothie. That is very, very yummy. Excellent. I see Armelle joining. Excellent. We will get connected here shortly. Again, for folks just joining, I am Lauren. I run the Me Too Many Voices page. I'm so glad to be here with you all. That smoothie is awesome. You would love it. Armelle, are you able to send a request? What did everyone else have for dinner? Did anyone else have a smoothie? Hey, Armelle, I'm wondering, is it giving you an option to add a request to be a part of the live? You're all so wonderful for hanging in there. Thank you. I am trying to message again. Okay, here we go. It says it's connected. I think we're going to make it happen, my friends. It says waiting, waiting. Come on, we got this connecting. Yay.
Finally, right? I don't know
Technology.
what happened. I couldn't hear you. Like I heard you, but it was at a distance. And then I'm like, what wait, what's going on? So I had to just grab my AirPods and to see if I can get this to work.
Um,
So,
well, we did it. We're here, and that's the important thing. We are connected now. Um,
right.
for folks just joining or just to start off afresh, hi, I am Lauren with Me Too Many Voices, and this is part of the Me Too Many Voices and Friends series for the community by the community. This evening, I am super, super excited to be joined by Armelle Desir, who is not only a fantastic human, she's a child welfare professional, and she just wrote this book called Mommy Says. It is
Yes.
a book that will help parents and caregivers start some really meaningful conversations.
Yes.
I can't wait to pass it over to you. So, hi, thanks for being here.
Hi. After much technical difficulties, I'm here. So, as Lauren had already introduced me, I'm Armelle. Um, just a little bit about myself. I'm very brief and simple, okay? I'm an author, child welfare professional, as she mentioned. I also have three beautiful children, so I'm a mommy, and I also do speaking engagements. So I like to consider myself a professional speaker, public speaker, if you like to call it that. So that's just really a little bit about me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. Uh, can you tell us more about Mommy Says?
Yes. So, as I mentioned, I'm a child welfare professional and I'm also a child abuse survivor. Okay. So, when I was younger, I was sexually molested. And as I got older, I did experience sexual assault and violence. And so, after writing my memoir, Unleashed from Pain to Purpose, I wanted something for the little ones, right? I've always wanted to write a children's book. It's always been on my heart, but I didn't want to go about it the wrong way. And a lot of the things I see on the market, it's almost like it's too vague or they're telling parents what to do. And as a parent myself, of course, I don't really want someone telling me this is how you should have such a sensitive topic conversation with your child. And so coming into the child welfare RAM and career, I learned so much. I was trained, I worked with parents and caregivers, everywhere from foster parents to parents that's been reunified with their children. And honestly, you wouldn't believe it, but most of my cases were sexually abused cases. I swear I feel like it was meant, okay, to happen. So I took a lot of my experience, training, and knowledge, and I wrote it in a book. But Mommy Says is different. It's actually a story. And the story is basically Melly, who's the main character. And like any 6 year old, she's excited because her parents are going to a family reunion. I chose a family reunion because it's the perfect place. It's a place where you will know some people, but then a lot of people you don't know. And that's where, we do understand that when it comes to sexual assault and child abuse, period, it can happen with a family member and it can happen with strangers. And so that's why I chose a scenery like basically a family reunion. So honestly, it's the entire story is just mainly Melly, her mom, and her brother getting ready to go to this family reunion. And like any child, she's excited because she's going to meet, cousins that she's never met before. But she's also just excited because it's a party. Okay. And so the book is just basically a conversation between Melly and her mom and her brother. And it's an intimate conversation. And Melly is including her friend, which is the reader, into that conversation. And so it's basically a conversation starter. The book is definitely kid friendly. Okay, it's where children can definitely understand the language. And in the back of the book is mainly for the adults. And that is where me, as the author, to you as a caregiving adult, is giving you basically my knowledge, my personal experience, and my professional experiences on how you can start having those conversations and exactly what you can look for actually in the back of the book. So in the back of the book, I have pointers on signs that you can look for in children that may give you a hint on it may possibly be sexual abuse. And then I basically just give you pointers on what you can look for. And of course, there's resources in the back of the book and a personal letter from me to you. So honestly, it is very kid friendly. I know that the topic itself is so sensitive for parents and caregivers alike. Every caregiver, every parent that I've spoken to, it's like it's a scary topic. They don't want to bring it up because you don't want to confuse the child, but at the same time, if the child is old enough, you don't want to give them this notion on, okay, am I putting things in their head? You understand what I mean? And it's all about honesty. That's basically what the entire book is about. Because I do understand that, children, they have imaginations, and parents get stuck with, did this happen? Did this not really happen? And that's what the book basically helps. It helps you develop a relationship with your children, because at the end of the day, when it comes to child abuse, period, not just sexual abuse, it's about relationship. And as a parent myself, I had to learn that my children, although I'm not an abusive parent, or I don't think so, and I feel like I'm close to my kids, they do have a tendency to leave things out, important things. And so I feel like developing a relationship with them and starting at a young age and having that conversation, it just makes it organic for them. And it's just because they're all about repetition, and then they'll be willing and able to come to you about certain things, anything at that matter.
Thank you. I've seen some comments come in like this is so needed from one parent to another. Thank you. And I I think this is incredible. And I love hearing how you have the children's book part of it and then
Hmm.
the resources for the adult, because that's
Yes,
what's needed to engage that conversation. Because the same
exactly.
conversation we'd have is obviously not the conversation you would have with a little one. And,
Exactly.
uh, and it's so important to have these conversations, as you said, when they are young to develop the relationship. And
Yep.
especially when they leave things out when you're kids, you don't know if this
Yeah.
is normal or not, if the way someone is,
Right.
behaving with you,
Right.
especially if it is maybe a family member. Um,
Right.
and so they may not realize this is something I should talk about.
Exactly. And that's what the book helps. It makes her to, because it honestly starts about the important things. And when I talk about the important things, I don't just jump into your private parts or that type of stuff. No, it's a children's book. And we talk about important things such as brushing your teeth and, fixing your hair, or, making sure you put up your toys. Of course, those are little things, but those are little things that you help them remember every single day. And that's exactly how important it is for them to remember things that's telling you any little thing. Because if children are like, oh, when it comes to kids, they may remember to tell you that they, oh, my favorite candy. Can I have my favorite candy? Or you remember you wanted that candy, but you you don't remember you have to put your toys up, or something as simple as that. And so I really wanted to make it where it was you can apply your everyday life into this story. And like I said, the reason why it's different from most books that I've read that is basically helping child abuse victims, or to help prevent that, is, as I mentioned, that first part is actually a story with Melly and her mom, and then in the back of the book is basically it's basically pointers for caregivers and parents to have that conversation. And of course, it doesn't go into too much details because, as I mentioned, I want to be able to just give parents enough so they can take control of the conversation, because ultimately they know their child best.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love even that insight. I can tell that this book is so thought out. Um, and I hear you say, starting with the little things. And I love that. I guess the way you're tackling it with the little things, because that's how it should start, with the little
Mhm.
things,
The little things.
and then and I know we've talked about this and I've said it before, you know, talking about conversation boundaries, that is, they should be little things when they're
Hmm.
younger. And then
Yeah.
as they get older, building on to that is
Yep.
cumulative education.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
um,
Sorry.
no, please
I
go.
wanted to add, growing up, I'm from the island, and also I feel like the conversation is, even now in my culture, is extremely taboo. And so I wanted to make sure that people in my culture, people from the island, or just people or people of color as well, because especially in our community, we don't talk about it much. And so that's why I wanted to include my heritage in the book. So I want to basically include that for anybody who grabs the book, like, wait a minute. Um, my heritage, and I'm Haitian. So we talk about the Haitian Creole culture. So I wanted to also bring some diversity as well into the book. So that's actually a really, really good, I guess, bonus, I should say, because anyone who's ever wanted to learn the Haitian Creole language, there's just a few, I'm not going to say a lot, maybe like 4 or 5 words, where Melly is actually talking to her friends, which is you, the reader, and she's actually helping and teaching you the words as well. So like I said, it's a very interactive book. I didn't want to put so much pressure on parents and caregivers about this topic. I wanted it to be fun. I wanted it to be, like I said, something with your everyday life, but then you're also learning as well. And so like I said, it's really going to be, you'll be able to have open conversations with your children about little things up until the most important and meaningful things.
I cannot wait to read this. I love that you're able to pull in your Haitian heritage with all of that. And
Yes, culture is everything.
yes, yes, um,
Culture is what brings us together.
it's
And so
true.
I wanted to include that.
Um, as far as, so I know that's the children's book section, and absolutely that's great because if it's not fun or approachable for the kids, they're not going to engage. Um,
Right.
do you mind sharing a couple of the tips or things you have in the back of the book? For the
Absolutely.
adults here, maybe a little highlight or two, a
Absolutely.
couple of tips.
Absolutely. So in the back of the book, I basically have things or scenarios, I should say, where as far as topics you can talk to your children about, one being child on child. And I learned about that terminology working in child welfare. Growing up, I was so focused, like when I become a mom, I'm going to talk to my kids about adults, perps, not realizing that children engage in sexual activities, exploring, and whether you're dealing with a teenager or just one of their peers that's the same age, it's not appropriate. But I wanted it to make sure that parents had a way or remembered to be able to also have that discussion with the children, because I felt like that one was key, because when children are dealing with their peers, they don't see anything wrong with it. They honestly feel like, well, that's my friend, and maybe we were playing or acting out. And so I feel like that, if they feel like that's okay, it's so much, it may allow an adult to take advantage. And so that's one of the pointers I have in the book. I also have in the book about conversations with your children. One of the main key things is asking your children, when you're asking your children questions, I also give pointers, not in a way where you're interrogating them, but basically making sure that you take heed to little things. And one of the scenarios in the book, and I'll give it away, is where I say that the child may go to uncle's house and said, we played a game. Some parents may be like, oh, that's great. I want a prize. You want a prize because you want a game. But asking your child what game did they play or where did they go, that actually leads to them giving you more details. So like with me, I never ask my children, how was your day? Because that's an open, that's an ended question. They're just going to say, oh, it was good or it was bad. Instead, I ask them, what did you do today? And that requires them to go into more details, because then they have to tell me all about their day. And then I pay close attention to little things that they may say, whether that means that they got in trouble or they were sad. And I can say, why were you sad? So bless you. So one of the things in the back of the book that I talk about is that particular things, asking certain questions, where it's not just they can give you a yes or no answer, just your, like I said, everyday life. Instead of, hey Bobby, what'd you do? Instead of how are you doing today, or how was your day, you can say, what did you do today? And what did you do today is really going to require Bobby to give you a little bit more details. And like I said, it, you would not believe how many parents, in all honesty, because kids will give out details and you don't even realize it, from switching to what did you, how was your day, to what did you do today, how much details they'll indulge to you. And then when you take in what they're saying, paying attention to that, and being able to ask them more questions, because then it doesn't feel like an interrogation, it's a conversation.
I love that reframe. Like, what a simple, reframe that can
Yeah.
really open up so many doors for conversation.
Yes, it does. You would not believe it. I've seen it. And like I said, I didn't just write this book based off my own personal experience. It was professional experiences and things that I witnessed in my different caseloads and people that I've dealt with. You would not believe what difference it makes. You really wouldn't.
That's incredible. We also had a couple of comments come in. And also, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them in. Someone wrote, I read that about 50% of child sexual abuse cases happen by peers.
Yep.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, this is great. Someone also wrote, I also think if a child is being sexually inappropriate with another child, it may be because they are being sexually abused and are
Yes.
mirroring the abusive
And
behaviors.
I want to be able to take heed to that, because that is why I mentioned that, because it's learned behavior. Children learn everything they see when it comes to the cartoons they watch, whether it comes to their peers in school or repeating something mommy or daddy said. Children are people, are they are little people we can mold. So you would not believe how most of these children that are acting out these behaviors, where I'm not going to say that some of them are not, it's normal, it can be, and I learned that through a therapist, but it can be, but in most of the time it's something that they learned. And it could just be something that they watch. It could be someone who did something to them. And that's why I feel like when I brought that up in the back of the book, that's why I go into that piece for parents to be able to have that conversation with their child after reading Mommy Says to Them. Because if we focus so much on the perps and the adults, and then we lose sight on the children that they're grooming and the children that were victimized that may be victimizing other kids, then there's no point of this. The cycle will not be break. The cycle won't break. It will just continue, because we can't just focus on the adults. Remember, these adults that's perping on these young kids, the young kids that are not getting the help they need, they too eventually becoming the one that's starting to become the abuser. So what that person said is the main reason why I wanted to include that in the back of my book.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, of course, not always the case, like we said, but
Yes.
it very well could be an indication. We have a question. What would you do if you know a child is being abused?
What I would do, of course, I'm a child welfare professional, so I would call my Department of Children and Families hotline. I know in other places it may be ACS, but I would definitely do that, because they can do a thorough investigation before they even get law enforcement involved. In some states, law enforcement does have to automatically be involved once that is the accused, and they will also do an investigation as well. But I will definitely try, if it's your child, please do not interrogate them. It's going to scare them. There's a way to do it. I would highly suggest that you don't say, but when was this? Who did this? Why? Try not to get too emotional in front of them. I know as parents, we love our children and we may want to cry, because I know personally, it just comes, it's something that is dear to my heart. And I can, even with kiddos on my caseload, I'm like, oh my gosh, and I have to kind of contain my emotion. So that's definitely the key things that I would say to any parent or caregiver. If you're auntie, uncle, or friend, and your little loved ones, and that's why I like to call them that, because we understand not everybody may be parents, but you have little ones that you love. You need to be able to do the same thing as I mentioned. Try not to interrogate them. Let them know that they're safe. Let them know that you do believe them. But like as I mentioned, try to do the instead of going to, well, when was this? Are you sure? Please refrain from that. Totally refrain from that. But I'm so sorry that happened, and that should not happen, and then try, like I said, reaching out to your Department of Children and Families or ACS. I'm not sure what it's called in other areas, but here in Florida, it's Department of Children and Families. Call that hotline and as soon as you can, because they'll be able to do a thorough investigation. And then there's steps and protocols in place to make sure they get that child spoken to a professional and they can be able to figure it out.
Excellent. Thanks, Armelle.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Again, feel free to write them in. We'll address it. And another thing that I just wanted to add that I know you and I have also spoken about off of this live, but how if you're a child, and I'm not a parent, so I say that, but just in general, it's important to remember that kids, even though they're children, are still have their own personal autonomy. And
Yes.
how often, because I thought of this especially too with family reunions, if your kid does not want to hug their aunt or uncle, that's their right. How often? I mean, it even happened to me and my family. It's like, oh, you have to hug them. You have to do this. You have to go sit on their lap. It's their family. If
Right.
their
And
kid doesn't want to, there may
right.
be a reason why. And also, forcing the kid to is teaching them that they're not in charge of their bodies.
Right. And
And
it's
that,
crazy you say that because in the book we talk about boundaries and consent, but we don't use those words. Of course, Mellie's 6. She doesn't know what boundaries and consent is. And mommy doesn't say boundaries and consent, but in the back of the book we do talk about that. And actually when they get to the family reunion, that is something in my culture we kiss. We kiss on the cheek. And I remember growing up, I didn't want to kiss a particular person because he was creepy in the things he would say and do, but it was just our culture, and that's how you show respect. But of course, I wanted to change the narrative when it comes to our generation now, and we talk about. Melly talks about asking her mom, hey, like, is it okay that I don't hug Uncle so and so because that's not how she feels like greeting her, and so it actually just shows the relationship between Melly and her mom where her mom respects that and Melly's like, okay, what I would rather not give him a kiss, but I don't mind giving him a side hug. And in the picture you see Melly giving him a side hug. So it's crazy you bring that up because that was my way of being able to start the conversation about boundaries and consent. Although those are not the words we use in the story per se, in the back of the book we go into boundaries, we go into consent, because if you notice, those are just some of the little things, the little hints in the story itself, because that's actually a really good point that you make, because in the book when she gets to the family reunion, that is something that Melly talks to her mom about, so that's actually really good.
I can't wait to meet Melly.
Melly's fun. She's a little me. I'm Armelle, so I got the name Melly from.
I love it. I can't wait. So if folks wanted to buy your book, where could
Mhm.
they go?
Well, it's on Amazon. The link is actually in my link tree in my bio. So there's actually an Amazon link if you prefer Amazon. And there's also a link to my direct website, www.armelledesir.com. That's also in my link tree. And so that is where people can get my book if they choose. They can get Mommy Says, or if you're an adult and you would love to read my story on how I overcame my sexual abuse trauma and experience as a child. My book, Unleashed from Pain to Purpose, is also on my website and on Amazon as well. So hopefully by the end of the month, it can be available at other platforms. Mommy Says will be at Target, Walmart, Barnes and Noble. And so I'm excited because this is definitely, I hope that this is going to change lives, but also bring families, parents, and children together so they can start having meaningful conversations with their parents.
Yeah, I have no doubt that it will make an impact. I think that even here, this, Friday evening, it already has.
Oh,
Um,
thank you so much.
thank you again
You're
for being here.
welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure. And all thank you for spending some of your Friday with us.
Yes. Enjoy
Again,
y'all weekend. Stay
yes,
safe, please.
TGIF.
Yes.
Um, Again, I am Lauren, and this is part of the Me Too Many Voices and Friends series for the community by the community. And we were just joined by Armelle Desir,
Yes.
who has been talking about her new book, Mommy Says.
Yes, and you guys can find me on my platform, Armelle Desir. Simple, simple, simple. And so I look forward to it. Send like I said, emails, messages my way. I don't mind answering your questions if you guys run into any other questions. I do speaking engagements, workshops. So if you're doing anything virtual, where you guys kind of want just basically a basic training, I do that too. Just send me a message and we can get connected. Let's start to break these cycles because, like I like to say, when you are educated, it makes you aware. And when you are aware, comes prevention, and that can help break the cycle of abuse.
Well said, my friend. Um, well, I look forward and I hope that this is just the first of many collaborations together.
Yes, likewise, likewise. Thank you so much, Lauren.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, bye bye.